So, today's topic is one that I had to brace myself on, which is rituals. African rituals. That word alone, rituals, especially in the African context, brings about some type of pandemonium or hysteria to some people, especially to those who don't understand how the African spirituality works. So today it's going to be all about rituals. When it comes to this topic, one thing we must realize is that rituals, that word has to be understood first. And to clear the air, rituals does not only relate with the African culture. Every other culture have their own rituals as well. The most common ritual that the world embraces in the Christian context is Christmas. Yes, Christmas has today become a ritual, a yearly ritual that most people get involved with and don't even realize that they are performing a ritual. So there are different types of rituals. These rituals are the religious practice rites, 1, 2, rites of passage, 3, sacraments, 4, cults. Yes, that's cults rituals. 5, oaths of allegiance. 6, coronations, for example, like that of the royals. 7, inaugurations, and like I earlier mentioned, Christmas. Christmas is a yearly ritual that most people get involved in. But again, today we'll be referring to the ancient African tradition of performing rituals. Most of these rituals are done in homage to the ancestors, deities, or the creator, our creator. And there are reasons for this, because most of these types of rituals that are performed in the African tradition are also found in the Old Testament of the Bible. In ancient African tradition, it is the belief that for us as humans to be able to relate with the ancestors or deities or the creator, there must be the presence of sacrifices given to the deities. And this is usually in correspondence to the fact that humans are in some way impure or unholy. Therefore, because the deities are perceived as being holy and in a completely different realm to our realm, for us to be able to relate with the deities, the ancestors, or the creator, when it comes to the African tradition, sacrifices have to be offered. Sacrifices that will be able to bring us to a level whereby we are able to relate with the supernatural realm, because it is the belief that in the supernatural realm, or the realm after this life that we are living here on earth, there's a level of holiness, because the human flesh is not devoid of impurities, uncleanliness. For one's prayer to be accepted by the creator, the deities or ancestors, there must be some sort of cleanliness. Humans have to go through some sort of cleanliness. I don't know that word. So this is why the African tradition is embedded with loads of sacrifices. And some of these historical facts are also mentioned in the Old Testament of the Bible. When you look at the Old Testament of the Bible, there's a lot of sacrifice that the ancestors, according to the narrative of the Bible, performed in order to be able to come before the deities, the creator, or the ancestors, as the ancestors are seen as the intermediary between us and the Creator. So oftentimes these sacrifices are done and they are meant for good. The original intent of the African sacrifices are supposed to be for cleansing, not as some people are using it currently. The sacrifice is supposed to be an offering. The offering is termed by some as gifts. So you want to go before the deity, who is the Creator. I mean, you could imagine somewhat, one could look at it as you wanting to go before a royalty or someone of importance. Do you just go as you are? No, you take time to get ready, to prepare, to look decent. That's the way the African tradition look at all this. So the understanding is, oh, we need to offer a prayer, we need to communicate with our Creator, but knowing our human limitations and the sins we as humans are connected with, it makes us unholy, makes us impure, makes us unclean. So for us to be able to go before a clean, holy, pure Creator, the Creator of heaven and earth, I mean, the Creator is the only supreme one, and different religion describing in different ways. So the African tradition see it as, oh, we need to clean up, we need to be pure, we need to be holy. Prior to going before the Creator, sacrifice of cleansing has to be made, and these sacrifices are made in different forms. So this is the understanding of the African ritual performance. So when you see most African spirituality, it involves a lot of sacrificing. According to tradition, these sacrifices involve different offerings. So if one is to describe what a ritual is, a ritual can be described as an activity performed in a prescribed order. Hence, there are a lot of positives when it comes to performing ritual in the African context, which has been subsided and is hardly seen these days because some have taken it to do evil, and that is what is commonly advertised or seen by everyone. But there are positives and good reasons why these rituals were initially in the ancient times being performed. Talk about humanity and the injustices, impurities in our world today. There's a lot of injustice going on in our world. There's a lot of sin being committed, impurity, nastiness to one another, treating one another and our environment for that matter in an unjust manner. And this affects nature, because the way nature is, it's supposed to be on a balanced note. But because of these injustices, these are not being done by us humans. We take advantage of the earth, ruin it. There's a lot of environmental abuse going on where, for example, resources are being taken from the earth, but the earth is not compensated. Trees are being cut down and not compensated. Humans are murdered by other humans. The earth is not compensated. When actions like this are done, it backfires because it's not natural. Therefore, when it backfires, as humans, we suffer. And then, being human again, we end up blaming the Creator. Meanwhile, humanity mostly is the cause of all this suffering. And this is where the African context of rituals comes in. The African context of ritual says, oh, we have done wrong. We have done this that we are not supposed to do. We have made ourselves unholy. We have made ourselves impure. And so we need to make remedy. We need to ask the Creator for forgiveness. We need to call on our ancestors to intermediate for us so that when we pray, our prayers can be answered. When we are in pain and we are suffering and we are in need of help, support, guidance from the supernatural, we can get all of this. These are some of the reasons why the ancient African tradition was so much involved in rituals that are meant for good, also narrated in the Old Testament of the Bible. So some of the ills that African rituals are meant to ward off are impurity or unholiness, sin committed against the ancestors, deities or God, injustice in societies, diseases. Also, these sacrifices are expected to restore relationship between humanity and the creator, the deities or the ancestors, and to also restore relationship between humanity, to protect the pure or the holy from being contaminated by the impure or unholy. And what I mean by that is, it's not that one people are more holy than the other, but in instances where unholiness or impurity is found, sacrifices are meant to be offered on behalf of the impure or unholy. And while these sacrifices are being offered to the deities, the creator or the ancestors, those who are found impure are meant to self-isolate. This is not in any way encouraging separation of one sect of people from the other. Neither is it encouraging or promoting one sect of people as being supreme over the other. Not at all. This is only meant, for example, like we recently had COVID-19. Those who contracted COVID did not suddenly become less of a person or unvalued sect of people over those who did not contract COVID-19. What happened in that case? There was self-isolation in regards to pending the time those who tested positive for COVID recover, so that medicines can be administered to them, they can be treated. In that type of scenario, those who were COVID-19 positive would have been in the ancient times called impure, unholy, while those who were COVID-19 negative termed as pure, holy. So in order not to contaminate the pure and holy, the impure and unholy had to self-isolate. That's exactly what the rituals meant. But in some Christian interpretation, this has been interpreted wrongly, claiming that some individuals or some societies are more superior than the other. That's a complete wrong interpretation. The administering of medicine could be termed in the ancient times as when the sacrifices were being offered on behalf of the impure and unholy to the creator, deities, or the ancestors. This was the view of the ancient African tradition. Two other reasons for rituals in the African context is that rituals are performed for appeasing the creator, deities, or the ancestors. And the last one is for the purposes of identity in the area of circumcision. In the ancient African tradition, it is vital for both the male and the female to be circumcised. It is an identity that is attached to our culture, so it's a cultural thing for Africans to be circumcised. It is through this circumcision that one can identify where that particular person comes from. Yes. And this you can also find in the Old Testament of the Bible. Circumcision was one vital form of knowing who was a Jew and who wasn't. Hence, in the ancient African tradition, the purposes of performing rituals was spiritual in the sense that it is a practical way of relating with one another as humans, with the creator, the deities, and the ancestors. In this practice, relationship is encouraged. Relationship is at the forefront, and this relationship is not just a relationship with one's own household members, but relationship in the community as well. So it also promotes communal relationship. When you look at the African culture, communal practices is at the forefront. In the African tradition, people look out for one another. There's an extension of aunties, uncles, cousins being so enclosed in the family unit of what makes a family. It's not just the father, the mother, and the children like we have it in the West. In the African context, family, which the performance of ritual encourages, is communal. Family is communal in the African culture. So these are the positives or the reasons why ritual performance in the African culture is at the premise of it all. Overall, rituals, sacrificial performance, were meant for good interactions with one another, bearing one another's burden. So if one becomes impure, it is the other's responsibility to make sure the creator is appeased, and the suffering that comes with that impurity, be it sin or otherwise, the suffering is either limited or completely forgiven. These were the intentions or purposes of the ancient African ritual performances. It is found that this ritual performance were truly effective to the extent that once these rituals are performed, there's an instant reparation. And so were these practices effective in the Old Testament as well. But currently, this has been overturned. What was meant for good is now being used for evil. We hear of instances of some people performing rituals to harm or kill other people or to destroy, which I'm going to be talking about in a separate video because I don't want this video to be longer than it is already. So we'll be talking about this other aspect of the performance of African rituals when it comes to offering of sacrifices. With this, I say thank you very much for listening and watching. See you in the next video. Take care now.